You probably won't find Slovakia on most of today's maps of European vineyards. Nevertheless, the present-day cultivation of grapevines in Slovakia is noteworthy, and its history is even more interesting. For many centuries, wine production was the main source of wealth for Slovakia's present-day capital, Bratislava, as well as for several other towns and many villages. Today, we will hear Dr. Ján Vingárik explain how the extent and distribution of vineyards in the regions of Slovakia, as well as the quality of the finished wine, was and is closely tied to changes in the climate. And our speaker, Dr. Ján Vingárik, majored in historical geography, followed by advanced degrees in history, all at the University of Matej Bel in Banská Bystrica. He works at the Upper Nitra Museum in Prievidza, Slovakia, as a curator of the historical document collections. His main field of interest is the environmental history of Slovakia, with a special focus on the Upper Nitra region. Thank you for being our guest today, Dr. Vingárik, and you may get started.
OK. Dobrý deň prajem všetkým Slovákom alebo potomkom Slovákov. Dobrý deň prajem zo Slovenska, kde už máme večer. And now in English. I wish a nice last day of September to all Slovaks or descendants of Slovaks in the USA who are watching us now. Here in Slovakia, it is a bit tense because many of us are anxiously awaiting the result of today's parliamentary elections. I am all the more looking forward to the fact that we are going to talk about another current and much more pleasant topic. Okay. In the mild climate zone of the Northern Hemisphere, the peak of the wine growing season is being reached, with which even the wine growing regions of Slovakia are fully alive at the beginning of autumn. There are 6 of them in total. Now I'm going to share maps.
Anybody you know?
Yeah, a few people.
Okay, I'm gonna go downstairs.
Yeah, thank you. Don't forget the books.
Don't forget
Can you
what?
see the map?
Books.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
From west to east, there are the Little Carpathians, South Slovak, Nitrian, Central Slovak, Eastern Slovak, and Tokaj wine-growing regions. Among them, the smallest one, the Tokaj wine region, or simply Tokaj, which extends to us from Hungary with a small part, has world renown. Now you can see the map of Tokaj. You can see that great part of it is in neighbored Hungary, and a small part is in Slovakia. Some view to Tokaj, to vineyards in Tokaj. You can see lookout tower in the Slovak part of Tokaj, in the vineyards of Malá Trňa, in the village of Malá Trňa. The Little Carpathians wine-growing region, here you can see it, which includes the capital city of Bratislava, the oldest Slovak city of Trnava, and the 3 smaller wine-growing towns of Pezinok, Modra, and Svätý Jur. Pezinok, Modra, Svätý Jur, you can't see on this map. It's very important important small town for Slovakian winemaking. It stood out from the rest territories for centuries. Vineyards on view of Bratislava from 1574 is on Vedute. All hills about the town. These all are vineyards. As you can see, now we had vintage celebrations in Casino. As you can see, the region of Upper Nitra, with its center in the town of Prievidza, where I have lived since I was a child, where I have worked for a long time, and from which I'm speaking to you today, does not currently belong to the vineyard area, but we are going to talk about the times when everything was different. While at present, the northern border of the continuous distension of vineyards in the territory of western Slovakia stretches approximately from Skalica to Zlaté Moravce. In the 17th century, it ran much farther upstream of the Bach and Nitra, above Trenčín and Prievidza. It was even more pronounced in the east of the country, where there are currently no vineyards in the valleys of the Hornat and Torisa rivers, while in the past they usually extended as far as Prešov on the slopes of their valleys. The prerequisite for the successful establishment of vineyards in these locations was the warming of the climate in the high Middle Ages, on the border of vine cultivation in Europe moved 700 to 500 kilometers farther north compared to the previous state. In the particularly warm 13th century, we would therefore also find vineyards under the Tatras in Pol or Spiš. The region of Orava remains the only area of Slovakia where they have never been recorded. Here you can see vineyards on the hill with Šariš Castle on the east of Slovakia, and also vineyards you can see on the hills behind. Now is Orava region. As I told you, it was only region when vineyards never been recorded.
Excuse me, Ján, can you turn up your volume a little bit? It's a little hard to hear you. Or speak closer to the camera. Okay, are you ready for your questions?
Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. I will continue.
Are you?
However, there is no need to have any illusions that there were subtropics in Central Europe at the time instead of a temperate zone. The increase in average temperature compared to the colder previous and following centuries did not exceed 2 degrees centigrade anywhere in the world, even in the warmest period of the Middle Ages. It means that the climatic conditions in the northern zone of vine distribution, in the so-called the heat of the Middle Ages, was sufficient for its cultivation, but not optimal. The quality of the vine there was far from the quality of vines from traditional southern vine-growing regions. Today's global warming has already surpassed medieval temperatures, yet no one plants vineyard under the Tatras today. Why? Explanation is simple. With today's level and speed of goods transportation, residents of more northern locations are simply not dependent on drinking low-quality wine from local production. In the past, before the advent of railways, solid roads, and trucks, wine trading was incomparably more difficult. On a larger scale, it could only be carried out by ship transport by sea or along large navigable rivers, which have not found in Slovakia apart from a short stretch of the Danube. In the more remote areas of the interior, it was therefore impossible to cover the daily consumption of wine, which was generally much higher than today. Wine, like any alcohol, also had disinfectant effects, so diluted with water, it was commonly given to children to drink. Finally, in the typical wine-growing areas of Slovakia, locals still jokingly say that only children under the age of 5 drink the water there. So that's all from me for this moment, and you can give me some question.
Okay, ready for the
Yeah.
questions. So are we to understand that medieval people were constantly under the influence of alcohol?
Yes and no. Of course, even our ancestors were not immune to the negative influence of alcohol. However, mainly light wines, especially white ones, were made for everyday drinking. In addition, compared to us, ordinary people at that time had much more physical work from morning to evening, and thus their bodies were able to quickly break down the alcohol they consumed.
Okay.
Maybe this explanation is enough. You can understand that medieval people were not constantly under the influence of alcohol.
But they were doing a lot of drinking, right?
Well, too much.
Whatever the quality of the northern wines, vineyards beneath the Tatra Mountains are a wonderful sight. When and why did this change?
In combination with several other important factors, climate change has again contributed significantly to this. This time for a change by cooling down in an epoch popularly called the Little Ice Age. This, like the earlier medieval warming, affected the whole world gradually, but not all at once. While its first consequences were felt in Northern Europe already in the 14th century, it reached Central Europe, including today's Slovakia, inexorably only in the early modern period, from about the middle of the 16th century. Over the course of the next 100 years, vineyards gradually completely disappeared from all northern regions of Slovakia. But in the south-oriented intermountain basins and valleys, they persisted in some places until the 18th century. This is exactly the case with the territory around the upper reaches of the Nitra River, centered in the city of Prievidza, which, as a regional historian and a local patriot, interests me the most. Wherever the vineyards have been preserved, the influence of the cold epoch is clearly visible in the late harvest dates, while currently the grape harvest in the entire territory of Slovakia is mostly finished by the end of September. After 1723, in all of Hungary, including to the Slovakia, according to the law, it took place only from St. Michael to St. Martin. That, uh, that is from September 29 to November 11. That's all from me for this moment.
Okay. What caused the medieval climate to warm up and later the modern climate to cool down?
I understand. Unlike current global warming fueled by greenhouse gases, climate change in the Middle Ages and modern times was caused by differences in the intensity of solar radiation and volcanic activity on Earth. In the Middle Ages, the activity of the sun was higher and the volcanoes were calmer. In the modern age, on the contrary, the solar radiation weakened, and in the years 1783, 1815, and 1883, the sky was also covered with ash from the gigantic eruptions of Laki, Tambora, and Krakatoa volcanoes. You can see it maybe, yes, on the map. Laki was first on Iceland, and Krakatoa and Tambora later in Indonesia.
These are very interesting connections, but let's get back to Slovakia during the Little Ice Age. How did grapevines growing in the northern regions resist the cold climate for so long?
Sorry, I won't say yet to next previous question.
Oh, okay.
Both factors changed the circulation of the atmosphere and the waters in the oceans. Therefore, climate change did not affect the entire Earth at once as today, but affected individual areas of the world in different periods of time with different intensity. For example, it was the early medieval warming in Northern Europe and the subsequent retreat of the glaciers that enabled the settlement of Iceland and Greenland by the Vikings, and finally the discovery of North America in 1021. That's all now. I think it was very interesting information for you.
Oh, okay.
In North America.
Okay.
Now
So
I'm ready. I'm ready for next question.
next question. Okay, let's get back to Slovakia during the Little Ice Age.
Okay.
How did grapevines growing in the northern regions resist the cold climate for so long?
First of all, it is necessary to emphasize the adjective small in this designation of the climatic epoch. During the real ice ages, the last of which ended 11,000 years ago, the climate was from 10 to 12 degrees centigrade colder than it is today. In contrast, in the coldest times of the Little Ice Age, the average temperature was only 2 degrees centigrade lower compared to the end of the 20th century, which could not subdue the strength of the winemaking tradition from year to year. It came slowly and was characterized by a long transition phase with an alternation of extremely cold and conversely milder to above average warm years. They had long ago gotten used to the fact winemakers had long ago gotten used to the fact that in the case of wines, they have to wait several years after planting them before they are rewarded for their hard work with a good harvest, and that taught them patience. In addition, the natural economic development in Hungary at the time was significantly affected by serious political events. Can you see the map with Mohat in the center?
No, you'll have to share your screen.
Oh, that's it. Try it. And now?
Yes, now we see the map.
I will continue. At the end of August 1526, a memorable battle took place near the town of Mohat in today's southern Hungary, near the borders with Croatia and Serbia, as a result of which the southern regions of the Kingdom of Hungary were occupied by the Ottoman Empire, the so-called predecessor of today's Turkey, for 150 years. There, in an occupied area in the historical region of Srijem, in today's northern Croatia and Serbia, the most sought after Hungarian wines of that time were produced. After this violent removal of the strong competition from the European wine market, wines from the Tokaj and Lesser Carpathian regions in today's Slovakia came into the spotlight. And because most of it became an export item, the demand for wine among serfs and less well-to-do townspeople in the more northerly areas continued to be met by local, if increasingly inferior, wines.
Okay. You ready for the next question?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, are there any archival documents from that period that talk about the quality of the wines grown at the northern edge of grape growing in Slovakia?
Yes, some clear reports about it have been preserved. For example, the words of the Hungarian Palatine Juraj Turzo in a letter addressed to his wife from a business trip at the beginning of the 17th century to their seat in Bicsa are verbose. I tried to share this Bicsa on the map of Slovakia. It's very note location. I quote, "I am happy to hear that there is a rich harvest in the vineyards of Bystrica, but it would not be good to give from the vine to our master's son. Let us save that for scaring young boys, and if we want some drunkard to be discussed with wine when he drinks from it." In his famous work, Historical and Geographical Knowledge of Contemporary Hungary, Matej Bel, a prominent Hungarian scholar of Slovak nationality, expressed himself more briefly, but in principle the same way, about the wine from the Upper Nitra region, when he wrote that vines grown in the 17th century on the hills in the vicinity of Prievidza bore surplus. So that was some examples from period documents which have preserved.
Oh, okay. Next question.
Okay, maybe.
Okay, what's the story on Slovak wines today?
I am pleased to say very well. Slovak winemakers realized a long time ago that they will never be able to compete with the world's winemaking powers in terms of quantity, and that is why they bet on quality. All traditional wine growing areas which have survived to the present day have its own specificities, supported in recent years by an increasingly warm climate. The numerous awards that Slovak wines regularly receive from international competitions speaks for everything. Last time, Slovak winemakers shined at this year's February rosé wine competition, Vineyards Mondial du Rosé, in Marseille, southern France, where they won a total of 2 large gold, 4 gold, and 3 silver medals in competition with 900 wines from 28 countries. Only a month before, Slovak wines scored points at the most prestigious world wine competition, Vineyards Internationals in Bordeaux. They won 6 large gold, 36 gold, and 16 silver medals there, with wine vines achieving the greatest success. Of the registered Slovak wineries, Vila Víno Rača from Bratislava and Chateau Topolčianky from Lithuanian wine growing area stood out in particular. I'm trying to share the next map.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Sure. This you can see, Rača is a part of Bratislava, town part of Bratislava, and Topolčianky in Lithuanian wine region.
Okay. Most successful Slovak wines today. Are you ready for the next question?
Oh no.
No? Not yet?
Finally, I will mention an even more significant success and last year's Vineyards International competition in Paris, where Slovak winemakers won up to 12 large gold, 30 gold, and 39 silver medals as well as a special pre-Queen of Award. After home country France, Slovakia thus became the most successful foreign participant in the competition among the 36 countries of the world. Similarly, we could continue naming other successes of Slovak wines, but that is not the purpose of this session. Now I'm ready for continuing.
Okay. Let's see. What are the typical grape varietals grown in Slovakia for wine production?
The traditional varieties cultivated in Slovakia for centuries are the classic Central European varieties that Slovakia has in common with Moravia, Austria, and Hungary. Of the white varieties, they are mainly Grüner Veltliner and Riesling Plavsky, and of the red varieties, Frankovka Blue and Svetovavrinecké. Three completely different specific varieties of Furmint, Lipovina, and Yellow Muscat are grown exclusively in Tokaj. Naturally sweet wines of golden yellow color are obtained from them. So this is the traditional varieties, historical varieties in Slovakia. The most important.
Okay. Does Slovakia also have its own grape varietals that were bred by winemakers in Slovakia?
Currently, it already is the first and at the same time the most successful of the white varieties is Dědí, registered in 1997. It was created by crossing Tramin red and Veltlin red and white. The wine made from it is aromatic and fragrant. Even among the red varieties, the oldest from the same year is the best. It is called Dunaj, or Danube in English, and is a cross between Blue Portugal and Muscat Boucher varieties. Both wines are my favorites. And now trying to share something next. Of the Slovak cuvée, I must mention the protected brand Skalický Rubín, an old type of wine obtained from the red grape varieties Frankovka Blue, Svetovavrinecké, and Modrý Portugal, or Blue Portugal, grown exclusively in the territory of the city of Skalica. So there are some Slovakian varieties of wine.
Okay. And I have one more question that was asked by Helen about Canada is famous for ice wines. Are such exclusive wines also produced in Slovakia?
Yes, ice wines are also produced in Slovakia, although in an incomparably smaller amount than Canada and only in the last 20 years, but successfully.
Okay.
Now, share. Can you see
Yes.
Vezino Krača Bela
Yes.
on the map?
The best Slovak ice wines.
Yes. Particularly successful ice harvests in previous years were primarily the sweet rose vine Karpatská Perla Zweigotrebe, vintage 2012 from Pezinov,
Mhm.
and a pair of white vines from the Chateau Bela winery from the South Slovak vine growing region. It was recent Plašský, vintage 2015, and a year younger Veltlinské Zelené. Slovak ice wine also did well in the current year when at the already mentioned rosé wine competition in Marseille, it also won the Palma Prize, the trophy of the champion of the ice category Frankovka Blue from the Vila Rača winery near Bratislava. However, the threat to the future is global warming, which makes it more difficult to store grapes for quality ice wine in Slovakia from year to year.
Okay,
Water.
that I'm going to now ask the questions from the chat. Okay, and I see some that you've already answered. Okay. Why can't we find Slovak wines in the US?
Budem hovoriť slovensky a mám tu pomocníka.
He will be talking now Slovak and I will be translating.
Okay,
Pretože sú produkované v malom množstve. Takže sú radi, keď sa dostanú do reštaurácií v zahraničí v rámci Európy, čo sa už viacerým podarilo.
They are produced in very small quantities, and actually the vineyard owners are really happy when their wines are in the European restaurants.
Záujem o slovenské vína je po týchto úspechoch na súťažiach dosť veľký. Samozrejme, keď sa už niekam dostanú a teda budú chutia, tak majú záujem viaceré reštaurácie.
Yeah, there is big, because of the winning prices which Ján was mentioning, there is the other countries want to buy are interested in the Slovakian beers, so sorry, wines. So it is possible to transfer to European countries.
Napriek tomu tradícia francúzskych, talianských vín a z ďalších tradičných, známejších vinárskych krajín je veľmi silná.
But the tradition from the other countries like France and Italy is much more known than the Slovakian one. So that's why I think the Slovak wines are not in the US.
Slováci by potrebovali rozšíriť vinice alebo vysadiť viacej viníc, ale to obmedzuje Európska únia, ktorá týmto chráni, ktorá dáva kvóty na tie množstva, ktoré môže Slovensko vyrobiť, každá krajina vyrobiť, a vlastne tým chráni tradičné alebo známejšie vinohradnícke krajiny a väčšie, najmä Francúzsko.
And there is also another impact which is coming from the European Union limits. And there are some limits for each country to how many meters quadratic can be for the vineyards. And as the Slovakia reached the limit already, there cannot be any more vineyards constructed or built or planted in Slovakia, because European Union is working on keeping the traditional wines like from France and Italy, from the more known countries.
oh, that's too bad.
Ale verím, že napriek tomu sa slovenské vína niekam do Ameriky dostanú a Washington bude určite prvý. Washington DC.
Despite this fact, I believe that the Slovakian wines will be better known and they will reach US hopefully soon, definitely in Washington.
Okay, we'll be watching for that.
Right, Georgine, excuse me, let me break in for a second.
Okay.
One of our audience members today was supposed to have been Brian Green. And he said this is right in the middle of his workday, so he didn't know if he'd be able to get away to listen to the talk. Brian is up in New Hampshire and imports Slovak wines. Excuse me, he's been at the Slovak embassy at a couple of the Christmas markets or other, I think it was the EU Embassy Open House Day a couple of times also as well. And I looked through the list and Brian is not here, but just to let you know, there is somebody who is importing Slovak wine.
Yeah, that's a shame that he couldn't attend this.
Yeah.
But it is being recorded, so he can watch it afterwards.
Right,
Yes.
yes. I was hoping he could maybe say a few words, but
I can show you some Slovak wines.
Oh, you want to stop sharing your screen so we can see that?
That's the thing.
Okay. Vegan?
Devin in the middle.
Devin? Okay.
Some type of mirror.
Yeah.
Yes. Nič si neurobím. Dobre. Skúsil som.
Yeah, he tried, but it's the mirrored image because of the selfie camera. Only that.
Sorry.
There's another question in the chat that I'd like to ask you. Are most vineyards owned, run, and worked by local families?
Či väčšina týchto vinární je zabehnutá a udržiavaná.
Áno. Toto je jedna z mála oblastí, ktorú ešte na Slovensku viac ovládajú najmä domáci. Na rozdiel od inej poľnohospodárskej produkcie.
Že to nie sú firmy, ale
zahraničné firmy. No nie, väčšinou sú Slováci.
Yes, so most of, well, this is the nice fact that the vineyards are really traditional in Slovakia, and it is the families which run them. So it is no abroad companies or any big production like in factories. So this is family-oriented business in Slovakia.
Na rozdiel od iných oblastí poľnohospodárstva a ostatnej produkcie.
Compared to other production from the agriculture in Slovakia, like wheat and vegetables and fruit. So this is family-oriented wine.
Okay. Let's see. Helen has another question. How did Slovakia fare in the late 19th century when the phylloxera epidemic destroyed most of the vineyards for wine grapes in Europe?
Áno. Museli byť prijaté veľmi tvrdé opatrenia. V podstate rovnako ako v prípade vírusu u ľudí, boli prijaté karanténne opatrenia. To znamená, že sa museli okamžite vyničiť vlastne pri prvých príznakoch korene viniča aj z nejakou širšou oblasťou, podobne ako keď sa vyoperuje nádor. Podarilo sa spomaliť až zastaviť vlastne postup tejto phylloxery. Napriek tomu mnohé vinohrady boli zničené.
So very similar as there is the pandemic between people, very strict rules had to be taken in place, and immediately all of the wines which were infected had to be destroyed, also with the roots, and not only the roots but also the soil in
Chceš nejaké číslo povedať?
tam, že tie korene až aj tá zemina sa teda čistí.
Áno, áno, aj zemina sa čistila a potom sa privážali aj vlastne podkníky z Ameriky. No, ten základ a do neho potom boli, ktoré boli odolné voči tohto mixere a do nich sa zaštipili potom ďalšie odrody.
So also the soil had to be well, disinfected, how we call it, cured, and well, removed from the virus, from this phylloxera. And then afterwards, there had to be, I'm sorry, I don't know really the name, but it's some kind of base for the wine from which it can grow. And it had to be transported from US. And that was the big part which also helped to avoid this virus.
Odrody, že tam boli zaštípené do toho.
No, ja som tak, že to bolo akože do toho dá.
Okay.
So yeah, so the vineyards were cut into these bases so the wine can continue growing.
A to bol postup, ktorý aplikovali v celej Európe.
And it was the manner which was applied in whole Europe to get rid of this virus.
Wow. And another question, is there a reference that you can recommend for reading about the changing climate and changing frontier of vineyards through the centuries?
Nejaký odkaz alebo referenciu na tú zmenu podnebia medzi to, čo si rozprával. Napísal, že možno literatúru.
Aha, či môžem poradiť niečo? I will try it and I can send to you and you can share it with your members.
Okay, thank you. If there's anyone else in the audience who has a question, you can unmute yourself and ask Dr. Vingárik.
Pokiaľ by teraz napadli otázky neskôr, tak rád zodpoviem aj písomnou formou.
If there would be any other questions later, he will be more than happy to answer them also in the written way. If there is
Okay.
but it will come in later.
Okay. Brian Green's business is Centaur Imports in New Hampshire. His wife Jana is Slovak.
Sorry, can you repeat it? I'm not getting the question.
Okay, this is the man who imports Slovak wines.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Brian Green. His business is called Centaur Imports, Centeur, in New Hampshire,
Mm-hmm.
in the United States. His wife Jana is Slovak.
If Jan is Slovak because of this, I'm not getting it.
Oh, Brian's Green's wife is Slovak.
Aha.
Yeah, manželka Brian Green je Slovenka, volá sa Jana.
Okay. Because I thought Ján Vingárik, like the one.
Nie.
Oh. Okay, if there are no more questions.
Moja mama sa volá Jana tiež.
Ah,
My name, my mom name is Jana.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'd like to thank you. Ďakujem, Dr. Vingárik. Thank you all for coming and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you very much. I wish you and all your members nice day and also evening and all the next year.
Okay, prepáčte, Christina má otázku. Christina has a question.
Nech sa páči.
Christina,
Let's go.
prosím, máš slovo. Okay, well, she's...
Ešte mám otázku, mal som problém s mikrofónom. Môžem?
Áno,
Prosím.
Dobrý deň.
určite.
Pozdravujem zo Seattlu. Mám otázku takú, že aký má vplyv zmena klímy na vinohrady teraz?
No, na to,
A po anglicky, prosím, pre tých, ktorí nehovoria po slovensky. In English now?
So I was just wondering how climate change is influencing the vineyards now in Slovakia.
má to pozitívny vplyv na tú bežnú produkciu bežného vína a negatívny na produkciu ľadového vína.
So the climate change has the positive effect for production of classic wines and negative effect for the ice wines.
A prečo?
Pretože tam musíte mať teplotu niekoľko dní od -7 až -8 stupňov a to je počas niektorých zím v tých vinohradníckých južných oblastiach Slovenska problém.
So nowadays there is a problem to have the temperature under the -7 or -8 degrees in the southern part of Slovakia. So therefore it is negative. This warmer climate change is negative for the ice wines.
Aha, jasné.
Longer. Yeah.
Ďakujem. Ale